What is up, investors, and welcome back to the Everything Crypto Show, where we bring you the latest and most important news moving the crypto markets, DeFi tutorials on how you can optimize your crypto holdings to earn some juicy passive income, as well as deep dives on projects we see as having huge potential for the future. Now, as always, please remember that nothing on this channel is financial advice, rather my own thoughts, opinions, and research that I have compiled and broken down for viewer education and entertainment purposes only. Please invest responsibly, as I want this community to thrive, and I love and appreciate you all. And on that note, just some basic house cleaning. If you have not yet hit that sub or like button, please consider doing so, as it costs you guys nothing and it does mean a whole lot to me. And make sure to follow us over on the Twitter page or join the Telegram channel if you want to keep up to speed with all the moves that we are making in the market in real time. And with that said, we are going to get right into today's video. And what we are going to be talking about today is the rise and fall of Mmfinance, and do I see this project rising again? Now, if you are a fan of the Cronos chain, or if you do watch my videos on this channel, you would know what Mmfinance is. It essentially has the largest ecosystem on Cronos with its DEX, yield optimizer, NFT, algorithmic stablecoin, and more. They have passive income opportunities, they have liquidity pools, farming, games. So Mmfinance here was actually formerly the largest DEX on the Cronos chain. However, in recent months, it has fallen down to third place. Okay, we actually went all the way up from having over 1 billion, having 1.3 billion at one point in total value locked, all the way down to 300 mil. And this is a very substantial pullback for total value locked in a coin, even though this is a fairly new project. So what we're going to do in this video is really discuss what led to this downfall of Mmfinance, and do I see them making a comeback in the future. And we're going to bring you guys back to a video that we actually made here on April 21st of 2022, as this is where the problems for Mmfinance really began. And this is because essentially Mmfinance allowed a project called LAUNCPAD to actually launch on their DEX. And if we take a look here, this video was made on April 21st, where I did warn about an incoming rug pull. I warned the entire community that it looked very suspicious, and that was on April 21st. So that was right here when we were sitting at about $13. And then literally within the next 24 hours, this thing tanked all the way from $13 down to $2, $1. And yeah, this project is now sitting at 10 cents. They have absolutely pulled the rug on their entire community. And this was a project that was on Mmfinance. So MMF obviously did also pull back in correlation with the LAUNCPAD situation. And I know that a lot of people did lose trust in the Mmfinance DEX after this scenario. So Mmfinance did actually follow this up with their own, community concerns addressing post. And basically what they said here is that one of their LAUNCHPAD partners had been liquidating funds in enormous amounts via the secondary market, hurting their ecosystem and causing a negative impact on their price. And LAUNCPAD here actually went ahead and liquidated about 2.2 million worth of the Lion/Tiger team treasury via the secondary market, and then they sent it to a CDC account. And what this did was also cause the price of MMF to dip, because when the Lion/Tiger pair is sold into USDC, this is what happens. It causes the SVN to price drop, which then causes MMF price drop, which is just simply a function of how the liquidity works. So in response to what they did here, the steps that they took include removing the whitelist of the Lion/Tiger token on their swap within 24 hours, encouraging users to break the Lion and Tiger liquidity and swap it back into SVN, which is Savannah Finance, for those of you who don't know. And they also warned users against participating in the upcoming token sale from LAUNCPAD that was called Bear. So basically, I mean, they did try to do some damage control here, as well as apologize to their community. However, you can clearly see that like this post was made on the 22nd of April. And if we look at Mmfinance here, they did hold up for a couple more days. They were sitting around that dollar mark, which was still a significant pullback from where they were at all-time highs of like $1.80. And then, yeah, just a couple days later, they slid all the way from $1 all the way down to 30 cents. And in recent months, they slid all the way down from that 30 cents level all the way down to 8 cents, and is currently sitting at literally 10 cents per coin. So even though they did try to actually protect their community and, reassure them that everything would be okay, the trust was already lost. Mmfinance did get really hurt by this. So what they did was they actually released a roadmap. Now, this roadmap looked very promising. We did talk about it on the channel. they basically talked about the fact that Mmfinance is not a token. They are trying to build an ecosystem, including an interest-bearing money market, an AMM/DEX yield optimizers, algorithm-pegged tokens, NFTs, Web3, stable swaps, and stable coins. And basically, they had teased us here with options markets, synthetics, tranche funds, and high-yielding stablecoin staking with over 60% APR. So basically, we were really looking forward to these changes, and they did really wrap this post up with a couple of very important points. That first of all, whale action is not new to us, as this is a very small cap project with low liquidity. It is going to be susceptible to these sorts of pullbacks, right? And I mean, we are in the midst of a bear market right now. So if Bitcoin wants to drop 50%, if ETH wants to drop 60%, if more established altcoins like AVAX and CRO are dropping over 80%, you bet your money that something like Mmfinance absolutely can drop 90 to 95% in a bear market. Now, secondly, they address the fact that they are on the Cronos chain, and Crypto.com is really expanding to become the #1 centralized exchange. And as more users enter CRO, do you think that they are going to enter Cronos? And when they do, which DEX are they going to land on? Obviously implying that they would find their way to Mmfinance. And thirdly, once the whales of panic sold and are replaced by new users in the longer term horizon, the ecosystem should have stabilized price-wise, as basically the whales get filtered out and then the long holders get filtered in, and they sort of help propel the price. However, I mean, you can see that this post was made on May 1st, and since then, given the overall market conditions as well, that definitely did not work out for them, as they were at about like 40 cents when this post was made. And yeah, we're sitting at 10 cents right now, guys. So the next thing they did here was on May 2nd, they actually released a whole document about MUSD, which was essentially supposed to be the liquidity bedrock of the ecosystem as an algorithmically pegged stablecoin. So at the time of this article, MUSD had over 60 mil in stablecoin liquidity, and once their goal of 200 mil USD was attained, MUSD can be considered to be a very quote-unquote low-risk stablecoins that runs a low risk of depegging. Should all the current MUSD in circulation be sold, they should probably see a maximum of 5% impact on this algorithmic stablecoin, but that would be in a bank run situation that should not happen, as MUSD was an over-allocated stablecoin. So in the next phase of their plans, what they were going to actually do was grow MUSD adoption, as it would basically become the de facto liquidity token in the ecosystem, with deep liquidity pools for major tokens such as MMF, CRO, USDC, etc. And why make the switch to focus on the use of MUSD? And that's because they were looking to drive higher adoption for the entirety of the ecosystem. And some of the strategies and things that they were actually planning with MUSD liquidity pools included self-repaying loans by supplying MMF into the MMF.money platform, opening up the possibility of performing a leveraged long through the use of MUSD to obtain APRs of up to 400%, possible tokenomic upgrades for tokens such as MMO, as mentioned above. MUSD would also then enable them to scale up fractional MUSD minting through the locking up of MMF tokens in similar style to how Luna and UST works. Yeah. This did not age very well, and that did really kind of lead to the downfall of MUSD, in my opinion, but we will get into that next. They also promised lower token volatility, which could be caused by the release of bearish news or other macro events, as well as improved capital efficiency for the entire ecosystem. So the team had big ambitions here to actually release their own algorithmically pegged stablecoin, and this was going to drive a lot more liquidity and safety onto the platform, as well as offer people some juicy yields of 400% plus APR. So after that post on May 2nd, it did appear like Mmfinance was starting to turn a corner and see some better days, and then boom, just 2 days later, there was a massive hack on the platform for well over 2 million USD worth of digital assets. And basically what happened here was there was an attack from a hacker, and what they had done was they had rerouted any transactions for swaps, adding liquidity or removing liquidity, and instead of actually getting this liquidity back to your own wallet, it was being rerouted to the hackers' wallets. Effectively, they were stealing everyone's funds left, right, and center. Now, I do need to say I really like the way that Mmfinance did address the situation. They exposed the attacker's addresses, and they also did fully compensate everyone in MMF who was affected by the hack. So everybody did receive their compensation back. However, again, for such an early project, such a new DEX, the trust was definitely starting to wane here, and although the compensation was sufficient, this definitely did still appear that it would present a significant pullback for Mmfinance. Then, not even a week later, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. It was just kind of like one bad news event after another here, as then we have the whole Terra Luna situation that really began on like the 4th of May here, but then it really started to pick up here around the 8th of May, and then boom, by the 12th, we had seen Terra go from pretty much $90 all the way down to like 0.0000145 cents. So effectively, this thing just got absolutely rug pulled, and the reason this happened was obviously as a result of their UST stablecoin, which was an algorithmically pegged stablecoin, and this was the exact same thing that Mmfinance had planned for their MUSD. So given what happened with the Luna and UST segment, they basically went back to the drawing table to discuss their plans ahead for the MUSD stablecoin. They say that the team has always recognized the important role they play in the Cronos ecosystem and how their moves are generally scrutinized not only by the general public, but also by institutions that want to get a pulse on the health of organic projects that thrive on Cronos. And with this understanding, they felt that it was better to err on the side of caution by ensuring the protection of users' capital beyond satisfying their own ambitions to actually release this algorithmically pegged stablecoin. They also addressed the bear market here, pretty much saying how it has been absolutely brutal, wiping out billions of TVL across all DeFi projects. And TVL was 240 billion USD at the start of the year, now down to 120 billion USD, representing a 50% decline of DeFi TVL on the ecosystem as a whole. And once again, if more mature DeFi ecosystems like Ethereum, like AVAX are getting pummeled, then you better believe that something like Mmfinance can absolutely get pummeled here. And I think you can really see that reflected in this chart on this big crash from 1.3 billion in TVL all the way down to 300 mil. So pretty much, I mean, between allowing some bad actors onto their decks that did rug pull the community, and then getting hacked, and then the crash of Terra Luna, which did cause Mmfinance to rehash the plans on their own algorithmically pegged stablecoin, I mean, it has just been a very unfortunate month for this project. And I think the main project here and what we are considering ourselves with as big believers of the Cronos chain is, do I believe that Mmfinance can turn things around and become the #1 DEX once again? Do I think that this project has the potential to really help elevate the Cronos chain to another level? So what we're going to look at now is we're going to take a look at what they have been doing since all of these unfortunate events. Is this team resilient enough to continue working through the FUD, through the bear market? Because as we have said on this channel multiple times, only projects that continue to innovate are going to survive this bear market. Now, once again, you can see that the media is still discussing how they have really halted the plans for this algorithmically pegged stablecoin. However, on May 26th, MMF actually announced their 14th LAUNCHPAD release called Mmfinance, and basically this is a yield aggregator and treasury inflation protected bond platform, the first of its kind in the blockchain industry. And the game protocol hinted that holders of Croissant token will receive an airdrop of Donut tokens in the aftermath of the launch. So if you are actually within the Croissant games ecosystem on Mmfinance, then you will be receiving an airdrop of Donut token. And basically, you can see here that they are still making their moves to actually continue and launch new projects on their decks. And I think this also definitely is reflected in their growth in daily active users and in volume. So for starters here, we can see that if we actually compare MMF to VVS, which is what we're going to do. We're going to pull that up real quick. You're going to notice that VVS is beating MMF in total value locked by over double, right? So VVS has 837 mil in TVL, while MMF only has 308 mil in TVL. However, if we actually look at the top native decentralized applications on Cronos by daily users, you're going to notice here that Mmfinance has just under 10,000 daily active users, while VVS Finance is coming in at 3.9 8.6 thousand daily active users, meaning that essentially MMF has like 2.5 times the daily active users that VVS Finance has. Even though VVS Finance does have a higher amount of total value locked, we can also take a look here at the top dexes on Cronos by 24-hour trading volume. And once again, what you will see is that Finance is absolutely smoking the competition in terms of trading volume, coming in here at 111 million in trading volume compared to VVS Finance coming in at just under 15 mil in trading volume, effectively meaning that Finance is outpacing VVS here on a 24-hour basis of trading volume by like 6 to 7x. So there you go. I mean, between the daily active users and between the trading volume, Finance absolutely does look like it is gearing up to really begin to pick up steam again. And I do believe that once the bear market sort of ends and once there is less FUD within altcoins in general, that we may actually see Finance come back to the #1 spot on the Cronos chain. And last but not least here, this was actually just announced yesterday that there has been an Finance site upgrade. Their DEX has been set up for close to 6 months now. Over this period of time, they have grown the Cronos ecosystem massively and have grown to be the #1 DEX by volume on Cronos currently. So remember that even though they are not #1 in total value locked, they are #1 in terms of volume and daily active users. This means that over the past few months, users have already been gaining liquidity pool rewards, but the stats have been invisible to you as the end user. With this upgrade, you will now be able to see the amount of trading fee rewards you will earn by staking in their farms. And I think this is just a very huge step to actually building community trust by allowing them to see the rewards instead of keeping them invisible. And I do think that actually, allowing people to physically see the rewards they are earning will give them more confidence and more temptation to continue to stay with the Finance DEX. So I think that is a very, very important feature for Finance to add. And they even said it so themselves. The liquidity pool fee rewards are massive due to us being the #1 most traded DEX on Cronos. So if you know that you are the #1 most traded DEX and that people who are staking on your platform are going to be happy with the trading fees they are actually receiving, then yes, you definitely do want to be showing this to your user base, and that is what they have planned to come out. And that is definitely something that I think can help restore some faith in Finance. So just a quick conclusion. I mean, it has been a really ugly couple of months, and not just for Finance, for crypto as a whole. I mean, the Cronos chain itself, you're cut in half, over half, from 4 billion in TVL all the way down to 1.65 billion. So it does stand to reason that something like Finance, a DEX on the Cronos chain, can absolutely crater well more than 50%, 70 to 80 to 90%. And this is completely normal in crypto bear markets. If this is your first bear market, then you probably think that this doesn't happen very often and you picked the wrong project. I'm telling you, this happens very often, especially during bear markets. And given the fact that Finance was really going through like these beginner growing pains at the same time that a bunch of fear and uncertainty and doubt entered the market, and then the whole terror situation happened, I mean, this has just been a horrific past couple of like month and a half, I'll say, for Finance. However, once again, the thing about bear markets is it really weans out the fakes from the real ones. It really weans out those projects who are just here for the hype from those projects who are here for the long term. So my concluding thoughts here are that if you are a believer in Finance for the long term, I'm not saying to buy right now because, as we've discussed on the channel multiple times, I do believe Bitcoin will outperform alts for the next couple of months. However, once we enter that accumulation zone, or if you want to begin to micro DCA into Finance, if you believe this is a project that will continue to innovate throughout the whole bear market and come out stronger on the other end, then yes, absolutely, this 10 cent per Finance token is an absolute steal, in my opinion, if you have high conviction in this project. But I do not think that Finance is a rug pull DEX. I do not think that they are going to take everyone's money and run. I do truly believe that they will be here for the Cronos chain, that they want to see the ecosystem thrive. And therefore, I am also cheering for Finance as someone who does want the Cronos chain to enter that top 3 spot, not just for EVM compatible chains, but for all blockchains. So with that said, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you have any further questions about Finance, leave them in the comments down below, and I will help you to the best of my ability. I hope you are all having an amazing start to your week. Happy Monday. Peace out for now.